All right, we're recording. We're ready to go. Hey, we have Belinda Allen online and Mark Polino online too. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks, everyone, for joining today. This is an Excel Hangout, so we're going to be talking about news, features, taking your questions on basically anything related to Excel. We've got a good audience here, and we thank you for waiting around. For a lot of you showed up early, which is awesome. And we're going to start. We also have Jared Hall, who should be joining us again. He's kind of working out some AV issues. And what's first here? So we thought we'd start this week with an event where we first talk about some new stuff, some events related to Excel and GP, Excel and Power BI, anything new and interesting that we thought was worth sharing. So, Mark, what do you want to start off?
Sure.
What were some of the news items you had in mind?
Well, first it's Friday the 13th and a full moon, and Jared can't get on, so maybe those things are all related somehow.
Exactly.
But
and there's solar flares.
And there's solar flares.
Yeah.
That's it.
The Excel continues to be a big seller in the iPad store, so it's nice to see Excel conquering a whole nother platform already. And then we had a couple of other things. I'm not into this one yet, but Bill Jelen, who is Mr. Excel, and Rob Colley have a brand new book out around Power Pivot and Power Pivot and Excel, and it's called Power Pivot Alchemy. My copy is sitting at home. It is the next book on my list to read, so I thought we'd go ahead and mention it here. It's nice to see, Bill Jelen is really not just called Mr. Excel, but he really is Mr. Excel, and Rob Colley's quickly becoming Mr. Power Pivot, so sticking those two together has got to be a great book.
I agree with that. Yeah, Bill's pretty cool.
And they're both just really nice guys too, which is kind of cool. And then Power BI. There's a new forecasting capabilities that Microsoft is adding around Office 365 and Power View, and of course Power View plugs into Excel. So we won't spend a whole lot of time on that, but you can just hit that up on Bing or Google or whatever your favorite search engine is and kind of dig that up. But I'm always intrigued by the forecasting, forward-looking, predicting stuff, and then circling back to see how that fits into the real world. So that always just kind of gets me excited.
I'll just post a link to that. I think I had that one in hand here.
I've got it. Let me take control here for a second. Can I, or can you give me control?
Yeah. You're now the presenter.
There we go.
I think you can do a share web page or web resource. I forget the actual.
I can just share my desktop. That works, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So here's the blog post. Power BI new forecasting capabilities for Office 365. So you guys can dig in and get some more of that. I confess to working really hard to catch up there. I spend too much of my time in good old regular Excel. And then here's Bill and Rob's Power Pivot Alchemy, so you can get an idea of what the book looks like. Like I said, I have one sitting, waiting, coming up next on my list as soon as I finish off the book I'm working on. And Belinda can tell you that takes about like 3.5 minutes, and then I'm on to the next book. So
yeah, crazy fast reader.
I'm looking forward to digging into this one. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And one more thing, since we're talking sort of dashboards and forecasting, GP 2013 R2 was released end of May. And one of the things in there is a set of pre-built dashboards that work along with Office 365. So it uses the kind of the SharePoint Excel pieces to be able to put that up. So from what I understand, it's Office 365. I don't know if they'll run locally. I have that on my list to dig into and just haven't made it there yet. But, it's nice to see Excel-based dashboards coming out of Dynamics GP. And then kind of the last news item, GP 2013 R2 introduces the ability to copy and paste from Microsoft Excel into GP. So we thought we'd show that off a little here. All you do is you load the sheet to look like this: description, account, debit, credit. You can name these anything you want, but that's the layout it's got to be. And then you just highlight what you want to bring in. You don't pick the headers, you just highlight the pieces. And then it's copy. And you come into GP, and we get rid of this. And you just say paste, and it brings it in for you. And the nice thing is if you screw it up, so if I come in here and I put in, extra digits or something that don't really exist, and I try to do it again, I actually get a message, I get a report, and it's going to pop up, and it's going to tell me that this account number does not exist. So I can go find that and fix it, and then come back and paste it into GP. So I thought that was kind of cool. I think it's long overdue, but it is nice to be able to see that it's in there, and that we've kind of got something to play with here.
And that description is actually the account description. So if you don't want to put that in, you could leave the description column filled blank. You do have to have a column there, but you could leave it blank.
Yep. And so I thought we'd mention, Jason, that we're sort of playing with the format. This is only our second Excel Hangout, and we thought we'd show off a little news. Belinda's got some stuff around pivot tables that she did at Convergence, kind of a 101, and maybe some things you didn't know if you've started using pivot tables a long time ago. They've added a bunch over time. And then we'll kind of come back and tackle kind of general questions and just cool stuff we want to show off. We wanted to give it just a hint of structure so we could, down the road, give people an idea of what to expect. And so that's what we're going to try to do today. Nothing more complicated than that. We'll probably interrupt each other a lot, but if you have questions, please drop them in the Q&A in WebEx, and we'll try to tackle those in just a little bit. So I think that's all I got for the news for right now, Belinda. You want to tackle what's next?
Yeah, so let's see about making, sharing my screen. And
I think you can probably request control, or I can.
I got it.
Yep. There we go. And since Jared's on mute, I'm keep trying to move my chat over. All right, I do not see the screen share.
It's up in share in the menu.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
There we go. And let me select the right monitor. That's the bad thing about 3 is it looks like I'm looking everywhere. That and I could end up sharing something I don't want to share. All right.
What have you got on those other 2 monitors?
You never know. All right. So I actually have 2 Excel sheets pulled up. The first one I do want to point out, this is just a view from Victoria Uden. Her views are great to use, and she's already got aging buckets out there, but you can edit them. So once you get it into Excel, that's a great way to do it. But the one we're going to look at today, and we're just going to go through this pretty quickly so that Mark can make fun of me and we can move along.
This is supposed to be supportive.
We are. Actually, I should be his older sister, but I always think of him as an older brother. So
we're going to make fun of Jared because he can't talk back.
Oh yeah, that's true. We should, shouldn't we? Okay, so
I think I might be on now.
Oh yeah, you are. Yay! Hey, Jared.
Hey everyone, Jared Hall.
Okay,
it's a little slower than the rest.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one. Okay, so this is just pulling up in Excel the view that comes with GP. I think they put them in GP version 10. Is that? Do you know, Jared? The views that are like payables, transactions.
I don't remember exactly which version that came out.
Yeah,
but it's been a while.
It was
10
years.
Yeah. 10 or 2010. I think it was 10, yeah. Anyhow, so I'm just connected to that view, and I only added in 3 columns. I added in a column using the formula for today. I like doing that a lot, so it'll always put in today's formula. And then I just do a calculation of how many days past due they are. And so I'm looking at today, and I'm looking at due date. You could make this by document date if you like, so I can have a number of days I'm working with. And then unlike Victoria's view, although I do admit I use her view as my go-to most of the time, but in this one I just did a nested view. And since I'm working in Fabricam, I just used it. If it's less than 0, I called it current. If it's less than 200 days past due, I called it old. And if it's more than 200 days past due, I called it very old. So you could use any kind of buckets you want. And the cool thing about this, even though I'm looking at payables, if I did this in receivables, it would age perpetually. So it would be independent of the aging process in GP. And there's some real power in that, depending on how you want to do things. So what I'll do is I'll simply just click on Insert this into a pivot table. It grabs the whole table. So I prefer working in tables. If this is not a table, I'll click on Home and choose to format it as a table. And the advantage here is when you add a column, the formulas will copy down. And also when you go to insert a pivot table, it'll automatically select everything in the range. I don't have to manually hold my mouse down and drag around and select the entire range. So once it's in a pivot table, this is the real fast version of doing a age trial balance, which is one of the things a lot of people like to have built. You could go in and drag the vendor name. If you have vendors with the same names, you also might want to get the vendor ID, which I don't know exactly where that is right now. Let's see, class ID. I'll be doggone. I know it's there, but okay, so I drag vendor name and I put it in the rows. Then I'm going to scoot back up to the top. Oh, there it is. It's a commonly used one. So I have now vendor ID, vendor name, and I'm going to find current transaction amount, drag that into values. Since I'll format it right here, I'm going to go ahead and do this as a currency. It'll retain even after I refresh. So essentially, right before your eyes, I'm making Excel refreshable age trial balance. And then I'm just going to drag that bucket column I created in here. So now it just needs a little bit of cleanup. So under Pivot Table Tools, I'm going to make it tabular, and I'm going to remove subtotals. So now here's a summary age trial balance. If I want to extend it even further, one of the things that I like to do is first put in my document type in the rows, and then I'll put in the document number. Now, one of the things that I did not do here that I would need to also do, and then I'll collapse this. So that way it divides up a little bit. So one of the things I did not do is make my documents that should be negatives. I also want to get rid of the zeros. So let's come into document number. Let's do a value filter. Does not equal 0. That'll get rid of a lot of them. So that shrinks it up to just what's actually aged. So I would need to come back in here and create a new amount column. Should have did this ahead of time already. Didn't do it. Didn't think about it because I was thinking. Do what?
Slacker.
I know. Well, I was thinking I was going to use Victoria. So I'll say document type equals. Well, let me do it the way everyone can see. So we will come in and do a formula. I won't freehand it in. If the document type equals payment, then make it a negative current transaction amount, else make it a positive transaction amount. Then we'll do the same for returns. Cut that out. Come in, do an if. Paste that in. If the document type is equal to a return, and make it negative. I always do the negatives first because there's fewer of those. We'll do it one more time. And then there's one other thing I'll show you. I hate not to finish it, so I should have just left it, but I know, big slacker, right? At least you can see how I do it. No smoke and mirrors. And credit memo. And those spaces and everything have to be exactly right. So if I don't have them exactly right, I'm not going to go in and fix it for the purpose of this. You'll get the get the gist. So now on my pivot table, I'll just click refresh, and I should get my new amount. Let's get rid of the current and format this. So this kind of gets us where we wanted to go. I also need to go in and reset my zeros. I'm going to skip that one for right now. I'm going to collapse this because what I want to show you is you could do the buckets this way, which is pretty cool and pretty nifty. Actually, let's collapse by vendor. Okay, or what you could also do, I'm going to get rid of the bucket here, and I'm just going to go in and put in due date. And this is like the 5-minute version of what I go on, ramble on about for an hour or longer. Okay, so I have my due date in here. I can do a couple things. I could right mouse click, choose group, and group them by years and months, for example, and now they're grouped together that way. Oops, I did not obviously have my credit memo set right because they are showing up here. Or another thing I can do, oh, and a cool thing about this, when you group by year, the year actually becomes a formula that you could move over to filters. So you can actually use this year, which I think is pretty cool. So I could say, just show me things that are due in the year 2017. So that's a pretty nifty feature, and then the due date remains that way. So let's go back in and ungroup the date. All right, so another thing that you could do, because this is a date filter, if I choose on this drop-down list by due date, instead of seeing label filter, I now have date filter. So I could use this to say, who are all the payables I have, and next week doesn't work. So let's say this month. Still bad example. Let's say last month. There you go. So this is another way you could use a payables report where you're just restricting to some cool things. So these are all pretty nifty. So Mark and Jared, what would you do differently?
In terms of what?
I don't know. Anything you want to add?
I suppose it depends on what you're trying to do with it. It looks like a pretty cool report.
Yeah, I think so.
I like how pivot tables just make it really quick and easy to take a ton of information and chop it down to summarize data for what you're looking for a specific period. So.
Me too.
I like how after you do a couple, you start thinking in pivot tables.
Yeah. Everything's in pivot table, because you could, like if I came in and said, all right, let me change the date filter to this year so that I get more transactions. There you go, this year. All right, so we definitely get more transactions out here. So now I still have the capability of doing some things like I want to see my vendors sorted by who I owe the most money to. And notice I'm not even changing reports to do this. So now they're sorted not by name. I thought I did that, but who I owe the most money to. Yeah, let me see if I can shrink my, sorry. Got a touch monitor. I still have too many dates out there. So let me subtotal those dates by month, and that'll make it easier.
Okay, now you're just showing off with the touch monitor.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's group these together by months. We'll do months with just months. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I love my touch monitor. Okay, so all right. So that's mostly what I use it for. It's just being able to see things on the screen.
More readable.
Yeah, definitely more readable. Okay, so now let's come in. Actually, let's do it by vendor ID, value sort options, and we'll do it descending by sum of amount. Oh, I did vendor name a while ago. And so now electronic services is the number one. And this is all refreshable. So I love doing things like this. Who are the top people we owe money to, like maybe the top 7. And it's the same report. I'm not doing anything, I'm just editing things around. And you get tons of information. You want to know what makes up that. I'm going to just open up the vendor here, and I can see its invoices, and here are the 4 invoices.
So part of what I learned is be careful doing business with Belinda because she has some very old payables out there.
Yeah. I didn't notice the aging, old and very old.
Yeah. I haven't paid you. I'm not gonna.
And I love being able to chart this out as well, because when you chart it out, so now we're going to drag this chart out. And when I am charting out like this, I like to get rid of a lot of these labels, although you could do filters from the chart here and they'll be reflected up above. But when you're charting it out like this, what I like to do is under pivot charts, under analyze, is just click this fill button and it cleans up the chart an awful lot. And then you'll notice that when I collapse this, the chart collapses too. So I love how the chart is interactive as well. So I can see when I open it up the invoices for those individuals. So here's Advanced Office System that open up, and I can do a lot of narrowing down like that. Yeah. This is Belinda having fun in Excel. Yeah. Slap a logo on it and you're good to go.
There you go.
Yep. So that's the nutshell version of what I do, and then what I like to do. And then also, if you have 2013, not to introduce a whole other subject, but Power View is a great way if you just want like the chart information and you do not want the table behind it. Because in Excel, typically you have to have the table behind it. Now in Power Pivot, you can get around that because the table data is actually in Power Pivot. But in Excel proper, you can't just have a chart by itself. You can move it to another page if you want by just clicking on the chart and then choosing Move Chart, and then you could put it on a whole new sheet if you want to. I mean, that's one way around it, but you can't, you still have to ultimately have the table in the Excel data somewhere else. So if you're using Power Pivot, that's the way where you can make a standalone pivot table. That's one of the big distinguishing factors between why you'd want to use Power View, why you'd want to use Power View over a pivot table in Excel.
Very nice.
Yeah. Coolerini, huh?
Any other little power or pivot table stuff you want to show us?
Let's see. I guess one thing that's pretty cool. So, and somebody had asked, and we definitely don't have time to do this, but somebody had asked about. You can see I'm using R2 of 2013, thanks to Jared. And he knows why. Okay, so let me dump in some account transactions. I don't need them all, but we'll let it stop it here. Because I sent him an email saying, when is R2 coming out? And it was the day it was coming out. And he's like, today, here, go get it. And
happened to email me on the right day.
I did. So, so I'm just going to dump this. First, here's a good example of me putting it in a table. So that's like the first thing I like to do. Excel.
Now, were you just pulling data out of Excel? I mean, out of GP or out of Excel?
I just dumped it from SmartList. So this is not a refreshable report. But the first thing I do like to do is put it in Excel or put it in a table, because then if I click on pivot table, it automatically selects the range. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the range. So one of the other things that I do like to do, and an account description too. All right, so we have account numbers and account dates. I do like to go in, especially for debits and credits, and add a calculated field. So I don't have a column for debits and a column for credits. I'll just come in and say debits minus credit amount. These are all my columns. And then click OK. And so now I have that. So again, just a Belinda thing, I like to always set my reports to tabular so that for every field I put in a row, I have a separate column. And then I like to get rid of subtotals. Almost always get rid of subtotals because it makes it look like it's duplicated. So in essence, if I had put in dates, this would have been an age trial balance. So you could do some things with dates by, for example, maybe we want to add a date year column here. We're going to assume everyone's on a calendar year. And when you do that, sometimes it'll pick the format up of the column next to it. So you just need to reformat the column. And set that to a number, click OK. So now we have our years, and notice how it copied down. And if this was an Excel refreshable report, that copying down automatically is important, because as you add new rows or new records, you want any formula you add to copy as well. So now in here, we will refresh data. I now have my year column, which I did not name. So this is a good place to put a slicer for the year. So now I can look at, oh, what did I do here? I don't know what I did with my my calculation. We'll find out. Open it up. I don't know, but we'll fix it. I guess it moved. Copy to copy. Okay, so that's done. All right, so we have that. So now I can click on an individual year and I can see the age trial balance or the net change of each of these account numbers.
Belinda, can you increase the can you zoom that in beyond 100%?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's another thing that you can do that I like to do. I think that's pretty cool, being able to do that. Another thing we could have done since I'm in 2013 is instead of adding this slicer, I could have added the timeline. And this is only available in 2013. When you add a timeline, you're only going to see the options for the fields that are date fields, which makes sense. So now I have this timeline. If I want to just look at, for example, net change for 2017, actually let me change this from months to quarter so it'll all fit. I could just drag and highlight that. So this is just 2017. If I just want quarter one, I can just select quarter one. And again, this is net change of all my account numbers. Cool, huh?
All right.
Yeah. You could do if you're going to do a balance sheet, you could do side by sides. So if you do two pivot tables side by side, and for that, you could just copy and it'll take the same RAM space. So you can copy this whole pivot table, just Control C, and you could then make that one so it's assets and this one so it's liability and equity. And then what I would do is, because they're going to be out of balance, I would put the calculation at the top so you don't run into pivot tables overlapping. You just where it takes the net difference, and that would be your net profit and loss for the current year. So that's a way you could do a balance sheet right there. A side by side one.
Can you leave that up for just a second? Let's talk about a balance sheet for a second, because we had somebody in the questions ask about. It was kind of a GP question, but it's, and I'm not sure we can tackle the whole thing here, but they asked how to do a balance sheet using Excel. And so what I've found is, I'll plug, I don't know if you can find it, you've got a great video out there of building a balance sheet using Excel. It's kind of GP specific, and it has one flaw that I know how to fix.
Okay. And
the one is that it's still positives and negatives rather than everything positive.
Yeah. Not sure what that is. Okay, it's gone.
So the way you get around that, if you'll, so just go up to cash operating. Well, actually, go down into something that's in the liabilities piece. So the problem is if you do a traditional balance sheet somewhere, I don't know, any of the payables.
There you go.
Really, these end up as negatives. So you do a traditional balance sheet in Excel, it all balances, but all the assets are positive, all the equities and the other pieces are negative. So highlight that and drill down on the formatting.
Sorry.
That's okay. Just right click.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll do.
And number format.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. And so what I've done is I do a custom format. And any of the number formats, you can actually. So I take one. It's just really small to see, but I take a number format with parentheses, and I swap the parentheses so that the positives have parentheses and the negatives do not.
What about
and then I apply that format to the bottom.
What about accumulated depreciation?
Accumulated depreciation is okay because it'll still be, you can apply it to there, but typically accumulated depreciation is a negative, so that doesn't screw people up too badly.
So you're saying
a negative number there.
You're saying you would apply it here. Well, what I was thinking was, unfortunately,
I would apply it to the finished balance sheet on the bottom section.
Got it.
And
okay.
since it's just formatting, it doesn't change the calculation.
Got it. Well, what you could also do, since I copied these, if we put in a label filter doing side, and I love that. I'm going to play with that. That's a really cool idea. I'm going to say does not begin with. Normally, you would have the balance sheet, right?
Right.
So. All right. Oh, that was the wrong one. I should have said begins with. Okay, so these would be, now I should just have assets over here. And then over on this side, if I came through, this one's going to be tougher to do. Label filters. Let's see, I should have it is between, or
you could still say is.
I could have two.
Yeah, is greater than.
But I do not want. Oh, okay. Oh, that's
down.
Okay. Yeah, but what I can do then is. Okay, and then I guess what I can do is come in and, but see, this is also going to get my.
Right, you'd have to roll it. You'd have to mark the income statement items and roll them all up as net income.
Here, it'd probably be easier if I just did it over here if I'm using these. But you could normally you would have, if you're pulling this in, you would pull in whether or not it was a balance sheet or a P&L. And then you could narrow it down to only balance sheet items, and then it would be either starts with a 1 or does not start with a 1. But here we could come in and say, this is what happens when Mark and I start playing. I'm thinking if we came in and said if it's like an asset, which would be I don't know how to do. Oh, I know. Less than that, then.
You gotta put quotes around it, I think.
Yep, you're right. Oh, and I don't have what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So if it's less than that, then put that in. I probably do have to have quotes. Otherwise, put in actually 4. Otherwise, make it retain or net profit loss. Oh, I have a circular reference. What do I have? Column 2. Oh, okay. That should be account number. That's what happens when you start playing.
I still think you need quotes around them.
I think you're right.
Around the account number.
I think you're right. So let's come in and let's just get rid of it and do it again. I think you're absolutely right. If the account number, and you know Leslie, who's on mute, is probably going, Belinda!
So while you're, it seems like there's kind of 2 techniques that we've talked about. One is to do more than one pivot table, which is what you did with your balance sheet. You had a pivot table for assets, a pivot table for liabilities, and then you can kind of disconnect the math at that point in time. Or you can do one pivot table and control what shows up based on some factors in your data. And the tricky part there is formatting it. And then the only way I've found to do that is to adjust the formatting for a portion of the statement. So for example, in an income statement, I would reverse the formatting on the revenue section. And on a balance sheet, I'd reverse the formatting on the liabilities and equity section. The math works either way, but you're really just trying to make the way it looks work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I'm not going to go into the detail, but you could see this, that actually fits in.
And you can roll it up.
And it rolls up. So, so that would actually then work. So then if you came in and you said, I've never thought of doing it this way. Begins with so now there's the assets. So then, we're going to put in, and it's so funny because we talked about not doing this. We'll call this one, okay, so there's the asset side. And get rid of this and put in a new calculation, call this liability. And this time it'll be credit minus debit. And we need to tell it, and then you'd clean it up, obviously. Label filter does not equal this time. And we'll collapse that up. And then you need to deal with some date ranges. I've got some issues here, and I have unit accounts in, so you'd have to clean all that up. But
that's
pretty
a couple of basic ways of doing it, and it's getting the formatting right always seems to be the challenge, because it's pretty easy to build. You know, like I said, Belinda's got a great example on her website of building one for GP. I know there's a couple of others out there that'll really just walk you through how to build one, but you still always end up trying to get those positives and negatives to appear right. The calculations work once you've got one that you know, built right. It's just making it look the way you want to make it look.
Well, this is pretty cool. I hadn't thought about that. But the advantage of this is you're only dealing with 3 columns for assets and 3 columns for here. So if you end up growing more accounts, the assets aren't going to end up flowing into the liabilities, which would create problems, because you almost really want to do it side by side if you're going to do it this way.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, too, if you wanted to apply a category and roll them up based on a category that's been entered on the data, instead of showing each account, if you wanted to have a section called cash and then a section called receivables, all you got to do is categorize your accounts in your data, and then you're just able to roll it up differently.
Yep. That's cool. Thanks. I like that. Thank you, Mark. I'm going to play with it.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to use the Q&A block. It's still, or the chat. It's still accessible from the top of the screen there.
Oh, Leslie wrote, "I'm too funny now. I can read her mind." I miss you too, Leslie. All right. So, anybody else want to share something or play with something?
Mark, you had mentioned a couple of other things that had been on your mind. Highlighting duplicates. Is that something that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I just had never really. Belinda, you want to go ahead and give me control for a second?
Yeah. Once I figure it out.
I can do it if you want.
Yeah, you might need to. Okay.
All right, so let me share here. Oops. There we go. So, I mean, this will be really, kind of straightforward here. And so, I mean, you can go into, if I have some duplicates, you can clearly go into data and do remove duplicates. But the problem is that just leaves you duplicate pieces, or the raw data, the non-duplicated parts. And maybe I want to identify duplicates and decide whether or not they're legit. Maybe I have just a number that's been duplicated, but maybe the rest of the information hasn't. I want to double check some stuff. See if I can remember what we did here. It's conditional formatting, highlight cells, duplicate values. And I think I need to highlight this whole thing here.
Conditional formatting.
Conditional formatting, highlight cells, duplicate values.
They all have a duplicate.
They're all
I have duplicates of everything. So let's make that a 5 and 7, 9. This can be a 8. So you see, it's really just going to pick out the duplicates that are sitting in there. And so that lets you kind of go through and decide, do I really want to do something with this or not, rather than just removing all the duplicates. I bump into folks who the duplicate is maybe legitimate. So we're all kind of Dynamics GP users, and we know GP will let you have multiple addresses for a particular vendor, but we also know that some vendors don't support that well. So if I have a business and I have AT&T in the Southeast and in the Northwest, those are typically two different places that the payment needs to go and all kinds of other things, even though they're all AT&T. And so if I send them one check with 2 invoices on it, they're going to misapply it, guarantee it. So an awful lot of folks have multiple vendors to support those kinds of scenarios where the vendor can't get the payment application right. And so maybe I just want to review and say, okay, yeah, we really want that to, we really do have more than one of those in our system. And so, I thought that it was pretty cool. I just had never played with it, and just being able to do highlight and pick out the duplicate values I thought was pretty cool.
Can you get to that using that quick analysis? So
let's find out. Doesn't look like it, Belinda. So on the formatting side, I can do some other stuff, but that one's not there.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, with that quick analysis, I think they just put in the most commonly used options, just trying to bring the most commonly used functions to right where you are, and then the rest of them, if you need any of those additional functions that aren't real common, they leave those up in the ribbon.
Yeah, well, leave it to Mark and I to look for something that's not common.
Story of your life.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Cool.
Well, yeah.
I have something I was playing around with this morning. If we need another demo.
Yeah.
This was something I just ran across this morning, and I looked at it and thought that's pretty cool. Might as well show it if we have the time.
All right, here you go, Jared. You're a presenter.
Might come in handy. I'm presenting now.
No, I don't think we're presenter yet.
I'm laughing at Leslie. She made fun of one of my comments. I said, slap a logo on it and you're good to go. She thinks that's funny.
So I'm trying
That's
to
the
give
difference
Jared
between the
control.
numbers and a dashboard.
Yeah.
Just a logo at the top.
That's right.
All right, so Jared, you should have control now.
All right. And this is an add-in from the Bing Ads team, Bing Ads Intelligence. And I thought this was pretty cool because it lets you go out and pull Bing search information into an Excel spreadsheet. So if just one of the examples I was thinking of, if you have a bunch of items in your GP database and you want to see how often do people go out to search engines and search for these items, and when do they search for them, and what's demographic information for the people that search for those items, you can just put this add-in into Excel, and it gives you a whole bunch of data on it. So I'll just type I'll just say Xbox One and Nokia Lumia icon. I'll just say those are 2 items in my database, and I want to see how often do people search for those. So once you install the add-in, it gives you this Bing Ads Intelligence ribbon up at the top for Excel, and then you can just start clicking, say what are the keywords that you want to search for, what are the devices that you want to look at, what are the devices people are using to search for it. I'll just say desktops and laptops, and let's go back to a year ago and submit it. And this goes out to Bing, checks with their data, and brings back all the information for what are the number of searches by period on the device for the keyword search that was done. So if we want to just see what is some information, who's doing, and we can then do some more and see what's some demographic information for it.
That's pretty nice.
I can already think of multiple uses for different clients. I love that.
Given that Belinda won't show us what's on her other screens, I'm worried about what she's searching here.
So this is another one, gives you, for those keywords, what is the age demographic of the people searching for it? So if you're doing a marketing campaign and you want to see who's searching for these items and what are the time periods in which they're doing the most searching, you just run this and it gives you a quick report.
Where'd you do that?
This was from more research. And there's an age and gender group, search user location, keyword categories. And for the age group and gender, that you have to actually have a Bing account for it to know who you are. I'm not 100% sure how accurate that's going to be. I don't log in every time I do a Bing search. So, but it's interesting to see that they have all that demographic information that you can just pull onto a report.
Very cool.
So, Belinda, this doesn't mean you can stalk Channing Tatum that way or anything like that.
Let's see how many people are searching for Mark.
You had nobody.
Do a quick comparison here.
I'm afraid.
Very afraid.
From just over the last year. Let's do from all devices. Well, actually, I think that might muck up the report a little bit. Well,
hey, looky there. Bunch of Jared Halls.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think that's me. There's some magician out there named Jared Hall. You go to jaredhall.com.
Jared Hall.
I'd love to think that everybody's out searching.
Jared's alter ego.
So we have searches for time period and keyword. That's pretty cool. Build a quick pivot table off of it.
See, the first thing Jared thinks to do is build a pivot table. That's what
becomes
I love
habit.
about him.
Throw in a chart.
That is awesome.
Whoever this Jared Hall is that they're searching for, he's getting a lot of hits.
We should get him on the Hangout.
It's you.
If you can get the magician on here, it'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's you, I'm telling you.
Excel data disappear.
Like magic, a dashboard appears. But yeah, that was one of the cool ones. And there's some other cool data retrieval that you can get from other services. Like I was watching a demo of a guy that he connected to the Yelp API. So Yelp has information of just stores And reviews, you can go out and review a store and say, I give it 3 stars or whatever the rating is. But you can sign up for a developer account with Yelp and just connect to their API. They give you a URL that you can put into Power Query. Just connect to their API and it pulls in all that information. So if I want to search for electronic stores in New York City, or if I want to give it a specific store like my business, like Microsoft stores in New York City, that'll pull in all that information into a dashboard, and then I can mesh that up with my financial data to see how do Yelp ratings relate to my financial data over time, build a power map, and it was pretty cool, the demo that he did.
That's
There's
awesome.
a lot of options for pulling in data from different places.
That's awesome. I'm going to use that too. Yeah, I already wrote that down.
So now I want to know what happens when I have enough toolbars or extra add-ins at the top that it fills up the top. Because by the time I add in the Inquire and a couple other that Jared doesn't have, I think we can come pretty close to filling the thing up.
You'll have to pick and choose which one you want to use at any given time. Unmark them as you go.
I was at a client's office yesterday and I had my Surface out, and we were talking about what version of Excel they use, and they're like, "We don't have any of that stuff." I'm like, "Well, nobody does except the 3 of us, right?" Just if you look at my monitor, I've got a phablet now, the Nokia 1520, and if you look, it might be a little hard for me to show. It runs my Office 365 very well.
Nice.
It's a big phone. I mean, look at the difference. So here's my iPad, my entertainment device. This is my phone.
Do you have trouble carrying it around?
No, I had to have red, but I got this case, and it's very girly, but no, not at all. The size I was worried about. I really was worried about the size, but I absolutely love it. The screen on it is awesome. And amazingly enough, I keep Skype running on it all the time, and the battery life rocks. I mean, it's just really rocks. I had no idea the battery life would be this good. And no problem at all. And I'm loving having Windows 8 everywhere I go. So, yeah, it's very cool.
Well, I'm liking Excel and Office on the iPad, and I've actually been playing with the OWA app instead of bringing my stuff into mail on the iPad. And
so, Mark,
it's really nice.
When you installed it on the iPad, so I'm looking at my iPad now. When you logged in, did you end up buying a home subscription to get in, or did you?
No, we have an Office 365 subscription.
So you used your work one, okay?
Yeah, I was just brought my work emails that way.
Okay. Just curious about that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've been playing with it some too. I use Docs to Go a lot, and so a lot of times I've been going back to there, but I need to quit using Docs to Go and use this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm real glad that there's more things being developed for the iPad. New York is very iPad centric, and so it's very exciting to me to see so much happen. Any word from Microsoft, Jared, on some of the apps becoming aware in iPad, like Business Analyzer?
I don't have a lot of information on that. Wish I could tell you. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Well, iPad's definitely been discussed as being in the plans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's discussions around it.
But,
yeah.
And we had an update on that a couple months ago with Errol Shanefish and Brian Meyer. And yeah, I think they were a little on. They sounded pretty certain that it would get there. They didn't. I think know exactly which update it would make it into.
Yeah, Brian would be the guy to talk to on that, but the release is always to be determined until it's ready.
Oh, yeah. There's like one feature that I had not seen in R2, and I've been playing with it R2 on and off until I upgraded, and I'm on the fence about it. The desktop action pane. Have you played with that, Mark?
Desktop action pane, no.
Not that, yeah. So like each window, you can set. I think they call it desktop action pane. Let me see what it's officially called. where you don't see a menu across the top. And Leslie, write something in chat if you've seen it.
The ribbon?
Yeah. Oh, someone needs to look at my phone, they said. Hang on a second. So, and Leslie wrote, it's all about what fits in your purse. Yes, that's true, Les. Yeah, so here's my phone, just to kind of give you so you can see it's got the windows on it. And the best correlation looking at the size of it is, here's my iPad.
I think people can maybe expand the camera view to get a better look at it.
So what device is that?
This is the Nokia 1520.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have the 40 megapixel camera. I only have a 20-something megapixel. But
what network are you on?
Only 20 megapixels.
AT&T. Yeah,
okay.
only. Yeah, AT&T. So, okay. So I was talking about the action pane. All right. I'm a little on the fence about this. So under user preferences.
We can't see it. Do you have it on another machine?
No, I don't have mine sharing. We're looking at Jared. Yeah, it's called the action. It's called the action pane. So for each window, you could put like a ribbon.
Yeah.
And I'm on the fence about it. So no need to share because I'd have to log. Well, here I'll share. Yeah.
I've got it. If you want me to show it.
Yeah, you go ahead and show it. Because you have to like reboot after you select it. I'm on the fence about it. I like it, but I think I'm missing something.
So,
Leslie and I live in our own world. Sorry.
Hey, Jared, can you make me a presenter? Or Jason?
I stopped sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
And this is probably going to run us over, and this has nothing to do with Excel. I just was curious if what your opinion was on it. And again, a public forum is probably not the best place for me to ask your opinion on it. But
are you talking about this?
Yes.
Okay. So the ribbon-like interface.
Yes. Okay. What I am not quite liking about it is I haven't figured out how to save a default lookup. And when you're in Smart List, I haven't figured out how to get the action, like open up Smart List. And just run anything in Smart List. Okay, so maybe it's just, well, yours doesn't automatically close. The option pane on the left?
Well, I think it does if I start doing searches and things.
Oh, okay. Oh, you weren't in one particular one. Okay, open up customer addresses and click on asterisk, or click on one of those. There you go. Okay, well, now I can see yours. So maybe it's just my screen resolution or something. You can get yours back. See, I can see the arrow. So maybe it is just me. Okay, it's just me. I'm going to keep my opinion reserved until I learn how to use it.
Okay. Well,
but then you wouldn't be Belinda.
I know, right? I know. It's all like all about the
I'm still having fun with Inquire, by the way.
Yeah.
This clean access formatting. You know, you get a spreadsheet that someone's hacked up and has saved stuff all over the place, and it's big and it's bloated. You pull it in and you just go clean access formatting, and you know you're just really down to the data that you've got, and you don't have you know, a bunch of number and maybe a conditional format set across all million rows kind of thing. I just really like to be able to clean it out, and so that's an add-in that I'm not even sure where I got it. I know it's a Microsoft add-in, but I don't know whether it was there and I had to turn it on or whether I had to go download it somewhere. But that feature just works out really well if you're getting big Excel files from people. Try to get them down to something manageable.
Inquire added.
I'd like to see that. I'm going to have to play with that cell relationship. I put it on mine. I just, after you, I think it is a download. I put it on mine. I just haven't played with it.
Yeah, when you get those complex spreadsheets, the nasty ones are always the budget spreadsheets that someone has where it's, 80 linked sheets and they can't figure out why their budget doesn't balance. Being able to do a worksheet relationship or a cell relationship will really help kind of figure out what they've screwed up. So, Jason, do we have any questions at the queue? We're hitting the end of our hour here.
The only question right now is just, what do you guys think about creating some written steps for some of the things that were discussed today, and I'd be happy to help with that. I think for everyone who's real familiar with this, there's probably several people on the line who maybe need to look at these things a little.
We can do that. And for some of them, they may exist, and maybe we could just point people to that.
Yeah, we could certainly do a follow-up article or blog post or put it into we'll send out a link to the recording. Certainly figure that out.
Yeah, so like I know Belinda's got a video that walks you through that, and we've got some stuff on the GP side on the copy and paste.
Yep. Yeah. No other questions right now. Maybe we'll make a last call. Either I don't know if you guys see anything else in the chat that's being sent individually to you guys. That's all we have.
All right.
So hey, everyone who's still on the line, thanks for joining. If you look there should be a survey that pops up when you leave the session today. We really appreciate your input there to know how you found today's session, what you'd like to see us do in the future. Let me just take control back, and I'll just put up our contact info. If you want to reach out to Mark or Belinda or Jared or me for some reason, you can just email any of us. We're all happy to take your feedback, your questions, and help however we can. So, what do you think, guys? Should we start wrapping up here?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone so much for. Oh, do we have a question? No. But yeah, we do appreciate your input. And
did you show the slide with our email addresses?
Yeah, it's up now. It should be up now. Do people see
I don't have it.
Oh, let me. Sorry about that. I was looking at it and enjoying it. There it is. Hopefully you see it now.
Yep.
All right.
And with Mark's tiny little email address.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for forcing
me
to shift over those. It's all off center, and I'm just going to ruin the rest of my afternoon. But no, thanks guys, and yeah, thanks for taking the time to talk Excel with us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Our pleasure. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next one soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.